Good afternoon, buenas tardes. Thank you so much for joining us in this panel in which we're going to be talking about freelancing opportunities, grants, fellowships, trainings, how to get them, and much more. My name is Valeria Fernandez. I am the new managing editor of Palabra, which is a publication created by the National Association of Hispanic Journalists to support all of you, affirm your work, give you a platform, mentor you, and do things like what we're doing today, connect you with all these organizations. So I am with three wonderful, powerful women. This is a really great panel, and I'm going to introduce you to the three of them. Boyoung Lim, she is a senior editor at the Pulitzer Center. And before becoming a journalist, she worked as a police officer with a focus on cybercrime. Since starting her journalism career in her native South Korea, she has covered human rights violations, illicit financial flows, tax injustice, medical device industry, and China's algorithmic surveillance. Wow. She formerly worked as a reporter at the Korea Center for Investigative Journalism, News Tapa. She is a member of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Thank you, Boyoung, for joining us. Then we have Tina Rosenberg, also remarkable. She is the co-founder of the Solutions Journalism Network and the co-writer of the Fixes column in the New York Times. She is a longtime New York Times writer and has written for magazines such as The New Yorker, Rolling Stone, Foreign Policy, The New York Times, Sunday Magazine, National Geographic, and The Atlantic. And she has written 3 books, including, you gotta forgive here my Spanish, I might mispronounce this, Children of Cain, Violence and the Violent in Latin America. Her book, The Haunted Land, Facing Europe's Ghosts After Communism, won the National Book Award and the Pulitzer Prize. And finally, we have Juanita Islas. She is the IWMF, International Women Media Foundation's Associate Program Director. She oversees the IWMF's reporting initiatives, training programs, and emergency funds, and supports the work of the Coalition Against Online Violence. Juanita joined the International Women's Media Foundation in 2015 and holds a bachelor's degree in Latin American Studies from the University of California, Berkeley, and a master's degree from the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. Thank you very much to the three of you for joining us today. And I hope that you're going to get a lot out of it. For all of you that are joining us. We will open up to questions after they do their presentations. And, as we're waiting for you to get your questions lined up, I might ask a question or two myself. Which one of you wants to start? Perfect. Boyan, thank you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this panel session. I'm Boyoung Lim, and thank you, Valeria, for the kind introduction. I'm filling in for our executive editor, Marina Walker Guevara. I have some big shoes to fill. And I'm here to give you some very good tips to make your Pulitzer Center reporting grant application successful. So just before going into the tips, what we do at the Pulitzer Center is we are looking to support underreported stories of global importance and highlight those reportings through our education and public events programming. So what are underreported stories then? We define it as stories that point at the systemic causes of the crises we face every day around the world and are often overlooked by the media. And it could be on any topic, including migration, climate change, gender issues, racial issues, criminal justice, and so on. The list goes on. We work with everyone, basically everyone in the journalism sphere. We support around over 170 projects per year, and about 60 to 70% of those projects come from freelance journalists, writers, photojournalists, filmmakers. And we also support projects coming from newsrooms at both the local and national level. and also our future journalist college students. We have a very amazing reporting fellowship program, and the students get to work on an international story with mentorship provided by us. So you can go to our website. This is just a couple of the many different opportunities that we provide. And our grants in a nutshell, you can apply to us, pitch to us with a proposal at your convenience. We are reviewing the proposals on a rolling basis. Our grants cover the costs of reporting the story, so hard costs associated with travel, accommodation, food, or if you're doing a data journalism project, FOIA requests, fees. We are looking for solid and strategic distribution plans, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slide. But really, in order to make your dream project come true and get our attention is to focus on the things we value, such as collaboration, data, and innovative approaches to the underreported stories. So these are some of the questions we ask whenever we're reviewing a project. Is this an underreported issue of global concern? Does it have a systemic approach to the issue? Or if it's a local concern, but is it connected to a global, much bigger theme? Is the story likely to get traction or deliver a new strategic audience? And who is telling the story? So these are what you should do and should not do. You should show why the story matters and why your approach is different, and explain why it has to be you that's telling the story. To do so, you should include strong work samples from yourself, describe your expertise, experience, or access you have to sources, and always try to include letters of interest or commitment from outlets. And also, a strategic distribution plan usually includes multi-platform strategies. So you don't have to do this all the time, but let's say it could be a nice mix of local outlets, national level outlets, and international outlets, depending on which story you're trying to tell and what audience you're trying to reach. Some of the things that the less successful proposals have is that they overlook feasibility. The project does not seem feasible to be completed within a certain reasonable time, or there's not a clear reporting plan. Also, don't forget to check our website before proposing to us. Check out what recent stories we've supported in order to avoid duplication. And please include a detailed budget breakdown. The categories can include travel, lodging, FOIA fees, and translation, production, etc. So after you do all of these works, what do we promise to you? We promise to be open and open to frequent communication, and we respect your editorial independence and the decisions you make. We will connect you to resources and the Pulitzer Center network and highlight your project in multiple channels through classroom visits, through public events that we do, and our university outreach programs. There's lots of opportunities to give life to your project after the story runs. So it's a very exciting opportunity. You can find out more on our website, and I would strongly recommend you to watch this short video called Tips for a Successful Pulitzer Center Grant Application. It has more details and better engaging format than what I just said. Other resources include IWMF and Fund Solutions Journalism Network. And there's other resources to look to fund your project. And I believe my fellow panelists here will talk more about it. But before I go, I would like to stress to everyone, don't get disappointed if your first proposal was rejected. Please try again, because some of the rejections are due to reasons that has nothing to do with the quality of your project. For example, we recently supported a very similar project in the same city, that could be a reason for rejection. So I implore everyone to try and not be discouraged. And that's all from me. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much, Boyoung, for that great presentation. And we'll have, I'm sure, a lot of follow-up questions. Tina, take it away. We need you to unmute yourself.
Darn it, I always forget. Sorry. I was saying thank you to Valeria, and I'm just very happy to be here. And Boyoung, thank you for that extremely useful presentation on getting a grant from the Pulitzer Center. So I am co-founder of the Solutions Journalism Network. And while we have some grants for freelancers, they are pretty rare. The kinds of resources we offer are other things, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But first, I want to just say what solutions journalism is, because it may not be familiar to everyone. So solutions journalism is looking at how people are responding to problems and covering that response, not celebrating it, not advocating for it or cheerleading for it, but covering it as a news story, along with what results they're getting. And it stems from the idea that journalism should not define news solely as what's wrong. We should also include in our definition of news what's working to solve problems. Readers get this instantly. Audiences love this approach. Journalists sometimes require a little bit more time to be convinced, but we can show you how to do that with high standards and journalistic professional safety. And therefore, lots and lots of journalists are adopting this approach when appropriate. And many of them are freelancers. So let's show some slides about what SJN can offer you as a member of the SJN network, which is free to join and takes a minute. So please do sign up. One of the things we have on our website, which is solutionsjournalism.org, solutionsjournalism.org, is our learning lab. And we have various different, we have various different materials in our learning lab. I'm sorry, can you go back to that slide you were just showing, Emily? Thanks.
It might take us a minute.
I'll go on anyway. Yeah, we have various different toolkits and guidebooks in our learning lab on how to do different aspects of solutions journalism. But what you just saw on the screen was from our basic Solutions Journalism 101 toolkit, and it was about how to pitch stories. We have our basic toolkit in 14 different languages. We just added Turkish, I think, and of course, great, thank you. Next slide. One of them is Spanish. So if you are interested in doing the self-guided course in Spanish, you can do that as well. Next slide. This is our, This is our SJN Facebook group, which is indispensable. A lot of the members of it feel like it's incredibly important to belong. You get advice and support and high fives and virtual glasses of lemonade and wine from dozens and dozens of colleagues all over the world. I mean, really all over the world who are working on the same thing. So it's a great group to join. Then we also have joining the hub of the Solutions Journalism Network, which allows you access to a lot of resources. We also have a blog called The Whole Story, and you can find it at thewholestory.solutionsjournalism.org, thewholestory.solutionsjournalism.org. And our blog, in our blog, you can search by keyword, and we have a lot of great blog posts on pitching stories and how to pitch solution stories. What are some successful pitches for solution stories and why they're successful? What editors look for when they get solution story pitches? Which editors are most interested in solutions pitches? How to prepare solutions pitches and other things. So it's really well set up to provide resources for freelancers. We have a Solutions Journalism 101 webinar every month that maybe not every month, maybe every 2 months that you can sign up for to do the course. And after that, you can go on to a second webinar, which is a story workshop. And that's limited to a very small number of people. And if you join that, you bring a story that you're working on, and everybody works on helping you to write your story and to think through your story. So those are very useful resources. Finally, I want to mention that we have our talent network, and that is simply a list of journalists and a list of editors and matchmaking. Editor says, I've got this solutions idea. Do you have people who are trained in solutions journalism and they have to live in blah, blah, blah and be able to do this kind of story? And we can say, well, here's 5 names to contact. So we want to get in our talent network. It's a great way of getting story assignments. So before I came to the New York Times, I was a freelancer myself, supporting myself for a decade. So I know how hard it is. In a way, it's very different now. Back then, there were a very, very small number of places to write for, and now there's tens of thousands. The difference is back then they paid, now they don't pay. So we know that freelancers have to write the same story, slicing little pieces off of it over and over again for different publications in order to stay alive in this world. So admire freelancers, and anything that we can do to help you, especially writing solution stories, please come to us. Again, our website is solutionsjournalism.org, and our blog is thewholestory.solutionsjournalism.org. Thank you. Back to you, Valeria.
Thank you so much, Tina. This is amazing. This is fantastic. I am going to subscribe myself to that Facebook page and follow the blog and sign up for some of the trainings. Well, Juanita with IWMF, if you can take us a little. Oh, Tina, do you want to say something?
Yes, we have a comment from someone that she cannot hear, and I'm wondering if other people are having that issue.
Thank you for
differently. Sorry.
Thank you for pointing that out. Let me see here.
Others can.
Someone says they can. Others says they. Thank you very much for the ones that are providing feedback right now. So let me see. Okay. Well, it looks like we have some people that are able to hear and others that aren't. I'm going to ask our technical support. There you go. They're giving you some answers there. So thank you for keeping us posted. Let us know if the issue keeps reoccurring.
It's recorded, the presentation. So if you miss it and want to see it. Sorry,
exactly. You can go back and take a look at some of the parts you might have missed. And sorry about that. Juanita, please.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Valeria, for the invitation to participate in the session. I am excited to be here. I am going to be focusing on some of our safety and opportunity initiatives, but before beginning on that part of the presentation, I do want to give a little bit of background on the IWMF. The organization has been around for over 30 years. And the IWMF has provided safety training, emergency funding, award recognition, reporting fellowships and grants specifically tailored to women journalists. We are making more women's bylines possible and work to ensure a greater diversity of voices represented in the news media industry worldwide. First, I would like to begin by doing a quick recap of our US-based emergency fund that we do have available for both freelance and staff journalists. This fund directly supports journalists, regardless of gender, who have been targeted as a result of their reporting at events related to the highly charged political unrest and polarization that we're seeing. And it could include, let's say, elections, civil movements, and other challenging environments. The fund covers immediate needs related to the professional work, such as medical aid, destroyed or stolen equipment, or protective gear. And it also supports long-term needs such as trauma, mental health services, and referrals to legal support. Please know that we do have other available emergency funds, and we accept requests via the IWMF submittable page. It is a pretty straightforward application. Applicants are prompted to explain what the need is, and if applicable, provide documentation such as cost estimates, invoices, etc. And if you do have any one-on-one questions in regards to these emergency funds, definitely please feel free to reach out. I will share my email after the presentation. We also have a number of safety training and resources available. Through our research with Trollbusters back in 2018, we know that 70% of women journalists have experienced some form of harassment, threat, or attack, and a third of women journalists have considered leaving the profession due to online violence. In the past years, working with a number of different partners, the IWMF has developed online courses in a number of different languages for journalists to learn how to protect themselves and their information online. I also want to highlight that if you're a journalist that has been experiencing online attacks or physical threats, we can connect you to an expert for a one-on-one safety consultation. And then separately on our website, you can find additional resources and other recorded webinars on a number of safety topics. These are available to anyone. And just to share that at the end of this month, on July 28th, we will be launching the Online Violence Response Hub in collaboration with the International Center for Journalists and as a project of the Coalition Against Online Violence. This hub will serve as a resource center for those who are being targeted, for those who are seeking support. The hub will also have the latest information available, including existing resources. So please stay tuned, and I will paste the link in the chat as well after the presentation. Okay, so now shifting gears towards our reporting fellowships. I do want to share that we recently launched a new program called the Global Health Reporting Initiative. This program seeks to support the production of high-depth, high-quality reporting on vaccines and immunization in Latin America and Africa. Currently, we are accepting applications from journalists who are based in those regions, and the program will facilitate access to sources who are medical experts on vaccines, mentoring from senior public health reporters, and other opportunities for reporting grants. The applications for this are open until July 22nd, and it is open to all genders, so please feel free to share. And similar to the Global Health Initiative, we do have other opportunities available for journalists based in Latin America. I'm not going to dive deep into the details here, but just to say that if there are journalists based in El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico who are interested in learning more, I would be happy to share more information and answer any questions you may have. Now, for the grants, I do want to highlight two that we have available. The first being the Kim Wall Memorial Fund. Each year, the IWMF supports the work that embodies the spirit of Kim's reporting in collaboration with Kim's family and friends. This is a $5,000 grant open to women journalists who are covering the subculture, broadly defined as what Kim liked to call the undercurrents of rebellion. The grant is open to both women and non-binary journalists of any nationality, and the application opens around December or January of each year. And the second and our biggest grant opportunity is the Howard G. Buffett Fund for Women Journalists. Each year, the IWMF awards $230,000 to journalists around the world. The fund was designed to provide women journalists with two different types of support. Our grants cover reporting projects that expose critical but underreported global issues, as well as professional development opportunities such as trainings, conferences, workshops, or media development initiatives. The number of grants and grant amounts vary each year, but in 2020, to give you all an idea, we gave a total of 36 grants to individuals and teams with an average grant size of $6,100. But the grants do range from $500 to $20,000 or more. There is no set limit, but projects over $10,000 are considered on a limited basis. we do highly encourage freelance journalists to also pay themselves by including a personal stipend in their budgets. Most of the projects that we fund are completed and published within 12 months, but we're open to longer timelines on a case-by-case basis, especially for more ambitious proposals like investigative journalism projects. Our application is now open on a rolling basis, so submissions are reviewed each month by a committee of IWMF staff and board members, senior practicing journalists, and editors. And the link to the submittable page, I'll also go ahead and share that via the chat after the presentation. And who's eligible? It'll be full-time or freelance journalists with 3 or plus years of experience of any nationality. It is open to women and non-binary journalists and teams of journalists led by women or non-binary, meaning that if there's a team that has like 2 men, 2 women, that is totally okay for us. Due to staff capacity, applications must be in English or Spanish, but the reporting projects can be published in any language. And I know I'm running out of time. I'm just going to quickly go through some of the application tips. Before you apply for a grant, we do recommend that you closely review the information on our website, which includes the FAQs. You can also see what projects we previously funded by visiting the reporting section on our website and filtering by the program that you're applying to. We do have a resources page on our website, which includes additional information like recordings of past webinars and conversations such as this one. And we're planning to share more resources in the coming months. For the tips, here are the top 3 that as a team we want to share with you. First, be ambitious, but be realistic. For example, the Fund for Women Journalists was created to support big ideas and ambitious projects. We like to fund reporting on undercovered issues that challenges traditional media narratives. However, even big ideas need to be realistic and feasible. The committee needs to believe that your pitching is possible to complete within your budget and on deadline. Tell us why your project also stands out from the crowd. We receive an overwhelming number of high quality applications each year, and we don't have the capacity to fund every deserving project. In 2020, we did have an acceptance rate of around 8%. This means that it's important to address why the project is important, why it's relevant, and how it's different from the existing coverage on this topic. Please don't make us dig on this or the selection committee dig for information. Our application does include a field for you to put your idea in 1 sentence because we believe that you should be able to clearly communicate your pitch in less than 30 words. If you're not able to clearly state your idea, then it's probably not focused enough. The budget is also super important for us. Like, please make sure that it is a detailed budget. You can include such things as travel, lodging. I previously also had mentioned stipends for freelance journalists. So just make sure that it is a pretty clear budget. And also know that if you've applied once, applied twice, and haven't received the opportunity, please continue applying. We've had fellows and grantees that have applied multiple times. So please don't get discouraged. And I think with that, follow us on social media. You'll get more information up to date. I'll go ahead and stop sharing and turn it back to you, Valeria.
Thank you very much, Juanita. That was a really great presentation and so many resources from all of the organizations, the trainings, the support, all of that. I want to invite all of you in the audience, and we've already been hearing from you. If you have any questions, you can start putting them in the chat, and we'll start presenting them as they show. There's no such a thing as a silly question, so you can go ahead and ask. Well, I have a few questions of my own while we wait for our audience. Where to begin? Well, one thing I think it's important, to highlight is that you work across borders, all of you, and there is support for journalists internationally and in Latin America. And I want to know a little bit more if you have application processes. I think IWMF does in Spanish that are available. I don't know if the Pulitzer Center does, but sort of how do you work with these journalists that are in Latin America? Because we have membership that's across our borders.
I can go first maybe in talking about what we do have. So we, for the Fund for Women Journalists and previously when we had our Adelante initiative, like we would accept applications both English and Spanish. And so we would process them. We would host interviews in both languages as well. Now we do have programming that's specific in the region. And so for those applications, we do accept them in Spanish as well. And everything, all communications are hosted in Spanish. So that would be from our side.
No, that's perfect. That makes, I think that makes so many people's lives much easier. It's really hard sometimes to find someone that can help you do it in English. Even if you're here too, if you're media in Spanish. Para los medios en español aquí. Boyoung?
Valeria, I couldn't hear your question earlier. Could you please repeat it?
Yeah, my question was about how do you work with journalists in Latin America, and if you also have application processes in Spanish, other languages, and how do you support these journalists?
We do support quite a few projects from Latin American outlets and freelance journalists in the region. Most of the proposals are in English, but we support stories that only publish in Spanish or in Portuguese. So that's that. And I can post and share some stories that we supported recently from the region and in the United States in the chat, if that helps.
Yes, thank you. And Tina, you were mentioning also some resources in Spanish.
Right, and we also have a program in Latin America. We work with the Fundación Gabo, based out of Cartagena, Colombia, and they're wonderful. They're our Latin America partner, and we've just concluded 2 years of doing trainings with them, both virtual and in person, more virtual in the last year for obvious reasons. And they also have huge amounts of resources on their website in Spanish. Also, if you go to their homepage of Periodismo de Soluciones, there's an email you can click on. I'm going to put this all in the chat. Periodismo de Soluciones @fundaciongabo.org. That will link you to a person who can connect you to a mentor in Latin America. So if you are a Latin American journalist who wants to learn more about solutions journalism, we will connect you to someone who can help you. And we also have programs in Africa, in Eastern and Western and Central Europe, various other places.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
I just wanted to add real quick that we also receive proposals in Spanish for rainforest stories in the Amazon region. So I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yes. Thank you so much about that. I want to remind the audience that you can ask questions at any time, and there's no such thing as a silly question. Maybe you're preparing an application. Yeah, one thing as a freelancer that I found really hard sometimes is you discover there's this fund, but then there is the deadline, and you gotta find somebody that's gonna want to publish your story, and it's so hard sometimes to find that person and to go after those editors and be like, please write me this letter, and then get them to write a letter of support in time. I have some things that I've done in the past that work very well for me, but before I share that, what are some strategies that you recommend in order to prepare yourself to apply and to reach these editors?
So, anyone? Go ahead, Juanita.
I failed to mention this during the presentation. For our application process, it's not required to include a letter from an editor. However, if you do have it, it does support the application. In that case, what we would recommend is that you provide a strong record of your past publications, the past work that you've done. We look at the application holistically, right? So we want to understand why it's important for you to tell the story, what will be the results. So we look at it holistically. So it's not required, it would help. But as long as we can see a strong record of your publications, that is as strong.
Tina, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, which is if you're doing a solution story, please take advantage of our network in several ways. Our formal network, in that we have lists of editors who are standing by their phones waiting to hear from people like you, who are interested in these kinds of stories, and also our network, our Facebook group, and our network of other solutions journalists who are in the same position you are in. And it's an extremely supportive group. People are always giving each other tips and advice and hand-holding. So it's very useful.
I would say that we don't exclude projects that don't have letters from editors. However, it always helps to have a letter of interest or like initial interest or commitment. In very few cases, when the story and project is strong, and if you can prove that you're the right person to tell the story, we have gone forward and approved the project without a letter or a committed outlet. And we in those cases, a very limited few cases, we try to help you get connected with editors that might be interested in the story as well. So I think the key here is to show your strong past works and convince us that you're the right person to tell this.
Right. And also, if you were published in some places that are pretty remarkable, that also helps. Tina.
One more thing I forgot to mention. We have a mentorship program where we will, if you want to be a mentor, that's great. If you want to be a mentee, that's great too. And you apply for the program and we connect you, a mentor and a mentee. And you get really intense, individualized personal attention from your mentor to help you work on whatever you're interested in.
I feel like I needed to sign up for that like 5-6 years ago. Where was I? One thing you start learning as a freelancer, right? Throughout the years, and I attended a panel at NHA many years ago where they were also talking about grants and fellowships to do international reporting. And I remember Cindy Cárcamo from the LA Times was there, and it all seemed so outside my reach, the investigations that they were doing and all this work. It was like, oh, how do I get these publications to even have an interest in my work? So I work with a lot of smaller outlets, not necessarily less important, but like, for example, radio stations in Spanish, local community publications. And I had a relationship with those editors, and they were very supportive. Anytime I wanted to apply for any kind of training, they were busy to write the letters, but they got me. And sometimes I think those letters really help get my foot in the door. And because we're freelancers, sometimes we are repackaging the story, if you're fortunately bilingual, in different languages, different mediums. And those smaller publications at your city that you've been working on forever, they give you the little push that you need to like maybe open that door. And I think I was talking with Marina Walker from the Pulitzer Center about this idea of this strategic distribution plan. And Boyoung, and maybe you can talk about what are some of those combinations of things that, let's say, someone that's like a Latinx reporter brings so many skills to the table and connections, because they could be doing a story for Univision, but maybe they could be freelancing, for the New York Times. And so I don't know if that's what you mean with a strategic distribution plan, but I think so. Could you tell us more about this combination of resources and skills?
Sure. I think I can think of 2 or 3 examples of what we call a strategic distribution plan. So one would be like a recent story that we just supported in Ghana, and it's about vaccine hesitancy in Ghana related to their colonial history of medical abuses in the colony. So that story was a local story in Ghana, but it was actually connected to a bigger theme of vaccine hesitancy around the world with COVID-19. So we encouraged the reporter to not only support for his national TV channel, broadcaster channel, but we also encouraged him to pitch to a worldwide audience outlet like the PRI, The World. So he did get his story successfully placed in PRI's The World. So that way the story is not only told in the local context, but it reaches a far bigger audience than just in Ghana, and people can learn and know about it. So you can do national level and international level combination. Another thing is if you're in a certain state, let's say in North Carolina, for example, your story is involving the whole state, and you can work with your local media partners in the state and publish your story in different outlets, in different formats, in radio stations or in print news or TV broadcast. So multi-format, multi-platform, and wider reach. And that comes back to working with others and collaboratively. I think that really makes it strategic to reach a far wider, bigger audience than just focusing on your local outlet.
Yeah, I think PRX The World is great. They're often very receptive to a lot of these stories. And were you involved in helping connect that reporter with the outlet?
Well, he succeeded it, but I encouraged him to pitch to them. I didn't make any connections or introductions, but I did encourage him to pitch there.
Right. Sometimes we don't know what's available. If you on your local media and right now with the internet and also radio, TV, all these different news outlets, it's you don't even know what the possibilities are for partnership, and having mentors in solutions journalism and people show you those opportunities. It's really great. Juanita, I wonder if you, and full disclosure, I have received a few grants from IWMF throughout the years. I applied for many, many, many years until I got them. So there's a lot of rejection in the process in general when you apply for this support. You really never know how close you were to actually being in the pool. One thing I heard once was that people tend to remember you if you keep persevering. It's this Valeria Fernandez, her name keeps showing up. Maybe this time is her opportunity. I wonder if you can give us an example of a project. Sometimes we discount ourselves because we think our project is maybe too small, but sometimes the simplicity of something is what makes it great. And I know I'm just didn't ask you to prepare these, but is there any project that comes to mind or some examples of things you've supported throughout the years in IWMF that maybe the journalist would be surprised, thinking, oh no, this is too small? And
there's one that comes to mind. I won't say names, but basically there was, for one of our reporting trips when we had our Adelante initiative, we were running a cross-border trip to El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez. And we were, a lot of the applications we received obviously were related to migration and related topics. And there was a team that had applied previous times, and this time was right there, but we're not selected. But then there was something that happened that a spot opened up, and so we automatically were this team has to go next. We reached out to the team, and one of the things that stood out to me, especially in that application, is that they went outside of the cities that we were proposing for this reporting trip and thought about what was happening in the nearby communities and towns and how that reflected the larger reality of what was happening at the border. So I think that sometimes it's we go into the major topics or major things that are happening, but the thinking about the underreported, the areas that haven't been covered, how can they fit within this one opportunity that's available? And to know that, yes, we are paying attention. We're definitely seeing names and we are rooting, we're there and we're thinking of you. We're going through this selection process. So please do not give up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure like you have experiences like that too, Boyoung, and maybe you can share.
We did have a grantee who kept applying for a grant with a ridiculously, compared to other grants that we give, very small amount of grant budget. And we were actually worried whether he could carry out the reporting with this small budget. It was just a very humble budget, and he did not have any letters from editors for his photojournalism project. But his past work were very strong. He was passionate about the issues that he wanted to cover. So I think eventually, after many trials and errors, we supported his project, and we supported him to be connected with editors. And some weren't very successful, but he eventually got his story placed in multiple outlets. So that's one story where perseverance pays off. And we know which grantees or which potential grantees are trying to really get the story out there. And as Juanita said, we're watching you, so not to scare you. We know the hard efforts you are making to get the story out there, and we really appreciate it, and we're here to support you.
Yeah. Thank you. And I want to remind everybody that they can submit questions if you want. I don't have to be the only one and only asking away. Tina, I wonder, going into what the Solutions Journalism Network does, if you could share some of those stories that have come to you throughout the years that kind of evolved. Maybe the reporter was one place with the story, but through the mentorship process, it grew into a different dimension, and and how important that is, because sometimes we need someone to talk to, really articulate what is it that's in our head. We have like a million things. Tina, unmute yourself. Sorry.
I'll get this one day. I know we have lots of stories of that, Valeria, and on our mentorship page, you can read them. I don't run that program, although I have been a mentor, so I can't tell you individual stories. I do know that we work with, our bread and butter is working with newsrooms. That's mostly what we do, is go into newsrooms and train them and do workshops and help them do solutions journalism. And a lot of them hire freelancers. So we know hundreds of newsrooms, and they're not all PBS NewsHour and the Seattle Times. I mean, some of them are really tiny newsrooms that will look at unknown writers. I mean, they all want good journalism, of course, but you don't have to come in with your star already shining to have some success. And we can help you start that path because of the network.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tina. Juanita, I noticed that we have a question here. This is good. From Erica. She says, can you talk about whether you prefer text-based stories versus video, audio, or other multimedia stories?
There's no preference on our end. I mean, we support all media type stories.
Same with us as well. We don't have preferences. As long as the project is strong, we're interested in all formats.
Same here.
I can say that I applied, I mean, it's public, for support for a podcast that I've been working on. And, that is definitely, I think, a little bit more outside the box, but I'm starting to see more support and more support for projects that are like, podcasts that are serving some of our communities. So sometimes you also, Juanita, is there support for books too?
I would say through the Fund for Women Journalists, because there is no like restriction of like, it has to be this project, it has to be this amount, it has to, like, it really is open. So that is something that you could, through the Fund for Women Journalists, although it is not common. So just to say that, we don't see that as common, as often, sorry.
Right. And I think both Pulitzer Center and IWMF has some sort of smaller grants if you want to do a training on something, like maybe you need some help with data journalism or something else. You do have that kind of funding.
Yeah, through the Fund for Women Journalists, also since it is for professional development, let's say there's like a conference you want to attend, but you need financial support, or there is a training obviously related to journalism that would support your career, you can definitely seek. And since it's on a rolling basis, we are reviewing these applications on a monthly basis. So that is definitely available.
We are supporting our RJF, Rainforest Journalism Fund grantees who are covering deforestation in the 3 regions, Amazon, Congo Basin, and Southeast Asia regions, with HEFAT training and also data journalism related techniques. And another thing we recently did was we have a wide range of grantees, and we have a listserv for the grantees that who anyone who has received a grant from us can join in our mailing list. And we recently did a digital safety training with everyone just for free. And the feedback was amazing. Everyone really liked it. I saw it as martial arts for the digital arena, and it was very helpful. So that's also another reason why you should try to get a grant with us. There's a lot of trainings and opportunities with us.
And you also have a lot of access to different trainings too that Solutions Journalism offers. You were mentioning some of those, Tina. Can you refresh our memories a little bit on some of the trainings available?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have self-paced guidebooks and courses on various subjects like editing, basic solutions journalism, health journalism, criminal justice journalism, education journalism, collaboratives, audience engagement. We have courses on all those things. Then we have webinars that are archived. The basic solutions journalism 101. We have solutions journalism using data to find positive deviance. We normally look at a database and look at the worst performers, but let's look at the best performers. What made them the best performers? So we show you how to do that with data to find stories that way. We have a revenue project that works with, this is more with newsrooms to help newsrooms raise revenue using solutions journalism to create new revenue streams. And we have trainings from fundraisers, et cetera, who've given us their time for that. And those are archived. And there's no cost to any of this.
That one about revenue I find really, really interesting. And I know we might have members in the audience too who are working, are in editorial roles, mm-hmm. management roles. Mm-hmm. That's definitely, it's sort of like, it's what we're talking about, but at a bigger scale for a publication. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's extremely important. We have about 7 minutes, and I know we have a shy audience. I'm just wanting to say, maybe you have some sort of an idea. Obviously, you don't want to give it away, but this is an opportunity to ask some specific questions about an application and all of that. I know that for me, speaking English as a second language, it has always been a little daunting to have to do all of those applications because I always have to go to my network of really great editor and English-speaking friends. Will you look at this summary? Would you look at this? It can never be just something that Valeria, writes and submits because I can't trust my English to be there 100%. No one can, right? We all should have someone proofreading us. But I know it is important to have some friends, colleagues, mentors that you can turn to when you're trying to apply. Have different sets of eyes, people that can be, your devil's advocate and ask you some questions about, hey, you forgot to say, what's the impact of the project? Or why is your budget so small? Or why is your budget so big? And also, like, definitely read very well the application, so you stick to what you're being asked. Because I know, you can beat around the bush and you can fill in the page, but if you're not answering straight on, it's not gonna help for sure. So maybe in this last, we have a question here. Once you become a grantee, is there a limit of how many times you can apply for grants?
Well, for Pulitzer Center, absolutely not. There are grantees who have received over a dozen grants with us and done a dozen projects. One thing we try to keep as a principle is keep one active project open with one grantee, like not multiple projects open with a certain person to give opportunities to other grantees as well.
For the IWMF, the same. We've had fellows who have received grants from different types of programs, but similar to Pulitzer, it's one active grant at the time.
And I just wanted to add, Valeria, to your point about having a devil's advocate or someone to proofread your proposal. Recently, I received a proposal that during my time in the Pulitzer Center, I think it was probably the best researched on what we are looking for on our website. And I haven't asked that journalist how he has done his research, but it seems like he has read all of the criteria that we make public on our website and just answered them very thoroughly, which just gave me confidence that he is a very good journalist. So you can just visit our websites and read and research, try to answer them as fully as you can, and that would make a very successful grant application. And I don't think you necessarily need someone to proofread, but if you do have an experienced editor or a journalist as a friend, that might help as well.
Oh, thank you very much. I wonder if Tina and Juanita have any final closing thoughts. We have about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I have one, which is that one way to win at freelancing is to develop a specialty. People who are trying to write a little bit about everything are often going to be stuck in the $300 per article story level for a long, long, long time. So that's whatever it is you're passionate about, focus in on that and aim at not just general interest publications, but trade publications. Specializing is and developing an expertise is really important.
I couldn't agree more. It's true. Juanita?
On my end, I would say, here from the IWMF and my colleagues, we're here to support you. If there are ever that you have any questions, programs, applications that you're working on, please feel free to reach out. I did put my email in the chat. Feel free to email me at any time, and we're happy to help you.
Thank you so much. And Boyoung, I know you were just speaking, but if you wanted to say something else.
No. I don't have anything else to say. Thank you so much.
Yes. And also, I want to remind all of you that I am the managing editor of Palabra, which is one outlet that you can pitch some of your stories. And I really look forward to working with all of you. I will put my email in the chat, or maybe technical support can do that. I can do two things at the same time. And then that way we can stay in touch and workshop through your ideas, take them to the next level, and then also figure out if you should be applying for additional funding for traveling expenses or anything that can support make your story happen with some of these organizations. Yeah, Marisela, please. I'm going to go ahead and put my email now. I definitely want to receive your pitches on all different platforms. Video.
Are you open to disclose those pitches, Valeria?
Excuse me?
Are you open to solutions pitches?
I love solution pitches. Like that is, it sounds like I'm saying peaches, but pitches with T. I really love that type of journalism. I am convinced after like almost 20 years of being a reporter, that's the direction in which we need to be going. And especially after 2020, we need to hear about what people are doing on the ground to bring about change and not just listing the doom of the world. I think the journalists are tired of that. The audience is tired of that.
Very tired. Yeah.
It is still important to hold, people, what do you say, to speak truth to power, of course. I'm not saying to stop doing that. Thank you so much, Tina Rosenberg with Solutions Journalism, Boyoung Lim with the Pulitzer Center, and Juanita Islas with the International Media Women's Foundation. And yes, we take stories both in English and Spanish in Palabra. And I'll be seeing you in my email. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.